What's going on, everybody? I want to take a quick second and say thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it, and I really hope you liked the video. If you do, make sure to like and subscribe. But enough talking, we're going to jump straight into the video. On April 1st, 1987, a quiet Colorado roadway became the scene of one of the state's most haunting mysteries. A young woman, 30-year-old Rhonda Marie Fisher, was found dead along an embankment in rural Douglas County. Her murder was brutal. Her killer left nothing at the scene that seemed immediately usable, and for nearly 4 decades, investigators struggled to answer one question: who killed Rhonda Fisher? In 2025, almost 40 years after the crime, a rare forensic discovery tore open the truth. This is the full story of the murder of Rhonda Marie Fisher, the investigation, the decades of dead ends, and the extraordinary scientific breakthrough that finally revealed the man responsible. Before the headlines, before the cold case files, Rhonda Marie Fisher was a person, a Colorado woman with a family who cared about her, including a child. People who knew her described her as a woman who loved deeply, someone who had struggled through difficult periods of her life yet held on to hope. By early 1987, Rhonda was navigating complicated circumstances. She had been staying with several acquaintances, moving between temporary living situations as she tried to stabilize her life. These details later became important to the investigation, not because they defined her, but because they helped establish her final movements. In the final days of March 1987, Rhonda was seen walking north on South Monaco Parkway in Denver, heading towards Leetsdale Drive. It was evening. The sun had set, traffic was light, and Rhonda walked alone along the sidewalk heading north. That moment would be the last confirmed sighting of her alive. What happened next remains unknown. Did she get into a vehicle? Was she coerced? Did she accept a ride from someone she thought she could trust? There were no witnesses, no security cam footage, no timeline after that sighting. What we do know is by the next morning, Rhonda Fisher was found in a remote stretch of Douglas County, miles from where she was last seen. April 1st, 1987, a Wednesday morning. Cool air, light traffic, and the quiet isolation of South Berry Park Road, a long rural roadway cutting through fields and wooded areas between Sedalia and Larkspur. A driver, moving down the road, noticed something below the incline, something lying down the embankment. At first, he thought it might be debris or discarded trash, but as he approached, horror took the place of curiosity. He had found the nude body of a woman. Deputies from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office arrived quickly. Because the area was rural, the scene was undisturbed. There was no tire tracks on the embankment, no clothing near the body, and no obvious signs of personal belongings. Rhonda had been essayed, she had been strangled, and she had been killed somewhere else before being dumped along the roadside. The killer had chosen an isolated location, one where he would likely believe no one would find her quickly. 1987 forensics were a world apart from today. DNA technology existed, but only barely. The ability to extract profiles from degraded or tiny samples was years away. Still, deputies in the coroner followed standard protocol, one of the most important steps, placing paper bags over Rhonda's hands at the scene. The purpose was simple: to preserve any microscopic trace of evidence that might be on her skin or under her fingernails. At the time, this was done routinely, with no expectation that these bags would one day be the key to solving a murder. The bags were sealed, cataloged, and stored. Investigators searched for fingerprints, fibers, vehicle tracks, or signs of struggle, but Rhonda had been killed elsewhere, and the dump site revealed almost nothing. The killer had left no weapon, no clothes, no personal items, no obvious physical evidence. the case was already showing signs of being extremely difficult to solve. In the months that followed, detectives worked tirelessly. They interviewed people who knew Rhonda, including those she had stayed with in the weeks before her death. One man, an acquaintance she had recently lived with, became an early person of interest. But after questioning and reviewing the evidence, investigators determined he was not involved. Detectives also began examining the patterns of several violent offenders active in Colorado during the late 70s and 80s. This was a period in Denver's history when numerous women, many of them vulnerable, were being killed by sexual predators. Strangulation was a reoccurring method. But in 1987, these cases were not yet connected by DNA, only by suspicion and pattern recognition. There was no way to prove which predator might be responsible for which murders. Rhonda's killer remained a ghost, unconnected, unidentified, and clever enough to leave little at the scene. Years passed, leads dried up, and eventually the case went cold. Cold cases don't disappear. They linger. They sit in boxes and storage rooms just waiting for something new to come. Rhonda's case traveled through generations of investigators. Some retired, some passed away, but the case remained open. In 2017, new forensic attempts were made to extract DNA from preserved evidence, but the technology still wasn't advanced enough to produce a clear suspect profile. The samples were too degraded. And all the while, Rhonda's family aged. Her parents died without answers. Her brother passed away. Only extended relatives remained, and even they feared the truth might never come. But then came 2025. In early 2025, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit, working with the Unified Forensic Lab, decided to revisit Rhonda's evidence. They opened storage containers holding materials untouched since the late 80s. Among them, the brown paper bag that had been placed over Rhonda's hands. These bags were fragile, nearly 40 years old, but today's forensic science was far more advanced. Technicians believed they might have a chance to be able to extract trace skin cells from the inside surfaces. That's when the decision was finally made. Test the bags. What happened next was described by investigators as exceptionally rare. The bags contained two DNA profiles. One belonged to Rhonda, the other belonged to an unknown male. This male DNA was uploaded into CODIS, the National DNA Database, and tested against existing offender profiles and crime scene samples. And in late October 2025, a hit finally came back. The DNA matched Vincent Darrell Groves. Vincent Groves was already known to Colorado law enforcement. He had been convicted in 1982 for the murder of a 17-year-old girl. He served only part of that sentence. But what investigators suspected, and what DNA had confirmed in multiple cases, was that Groves was almost certainly one of Colorado's most prolific serial killers. His victims were primarily vulnerable women, often those without stable housing or support systems. Many victims were essayed, many were strangled, bodies were often dumped in isolated areas. Rhonda Marie Fisher's murder fits this pattern precisely. Groves died in prison in 1996. He has never confessed. But DNA has now linked him to several murders, and Rhonda's case is among them. In December 2025, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office publicly announced that the 1987 murder of Rhonda Marie Fisher had been solved. Forensic scientists, cold case investigators, archivists, and analysts had worked together to break a case that once seemed unsolvable. Unfortunately, most of Rhonda's immediate family did not live long enough to hear the truth, but investigators did notify her surviving cousin, who expressed relief that Rhonda's story had finally been given an ending. Rhonda's case is now being recognized as an example of why cold case units matter, why evidence preservation matters, and why forensic science continues to evolve. A simple decision in 1987 to place paper bags over a victim's hands a decision that seemed routine and unremarkable. That decision preserved the DNA that would one day identify a killer. It is a reminder that no case is too old, no victim should be forgotten. Rhonda Marie Fisher was more than a case file. She was a mother, a daughter, a cousin, and a life cut short far too soon. Thanks to modern science and relentless investigators, her story finally has justice. What's up, guys? I know I've been talking the whole video, but I wanted to say thank you again. It really means the world to me that you guys watched this. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and I earned that like and subscribe, go ahead and hit that for me if you can. Comment down what else you want to see. I could do more cases. I also stream on my part-time if you guys are interested in that. But I did have a couple notes I wanted to leave on with this case specifically. Vincent Darrell Groves, as I said in my video, he was arrested when he was younger for murdering a teen girl. And he didn't even serve that whole sentence. He got out early. He's connected to 14 homicides. He was connected to 14 homicides before he died. I think in this situation and a lot of situations, it's the justice system not coming through, not protecting innocent people. But that's all I wanted to say. I really feel like the justice system failed on this one. But again, really hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a beautiful day. I'll see you guys in the next video.